Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke on this gorgeous morning, Memorial Day weekend morning. I think we're really lucky to have a day like that. I don't know about you, but this past week has been a lot of rain and gloom and rain. And everything just looks so clean and bright and washed this morning. It's just so beautiful. It's a really special day. And I bet you're going to make it a special day. And you did start it out by joining us here this morning. So it's so good to see you. It's also good to have our friends on YouTube with us this morning. We always enjoy having you too. And a special welcome to anyone who might be a visitor, either here in the sanctuary or on YouTube. We always love having visitors. We enjoy that, so welcome. I think you'll find, if you are a visitor, that this is a really safe place to explore your spirituality as we explore ours. And we hope you will come back. A couple of quick announcements. Those of you on YouTube who might have something on your hearts that you would like to share in our Joys and Concerns section of the service, if you can get that to in the chat within the next 10 or 15 minutes, we will do our best to include that when we offer up the Joys and Concerns later in the service. Those of you who are with us here this morning in the sanctuary, please check and be sure that your cell phone is silenced. That would be much appreciated. Our minister, Reverend Walter LaFleur, is in the pulpit this morning, and his sermon will be in memoriam for Memorial Day. So we're looking forward to that. Now, we do have some information about our generosity campaign. So I think, who did we say was doing that? Erica or Walter? Walter. Erica's doing that. Okay. Changes from time to time.
All right, we're going to tag team this here. So we have just a quick report for you, and I volunteered to give it because I'm your board president. I figured that would add a little gravitas.
Why are they laughing?
Of course, you know, Matt Livingston, Walker Hartman are our co-captains on the generosity campaign. Matt wrote this up, so I'm just going to read part of it and then hand it over to Walker for some extra momentum. We celebrated our generosity campaign on May 15th. A total of $217,000 was pledged against a target of $250,000. So far, we've received 105 pledges. We're pleased with these results despite the $33,000 shortfall. We had an ambitious target because we're an ambitious congregation. If you recall, last year we had a generous matching gift offer when our campaign similarly fell short of the target, and we were able to generate an additional $15,000 in pledges to meet last year's target of $222,000. The target of $250K was based on what we consider an aspirational budget. Thank you. Aspirational budget. That means we include things we need to have basic cost of living increases for employees, bills, basic maintenance, RE programming, as well as the things that we would like to have, salary increases to meet UUA guidelines, increased financial support to the UUA. We've been underfunding them for many years. Leadership development training, very important, so that the board doesn't look like the same old people every time. Preventive maintenance, including tree trimming that we're engaged in trying to make happen across the street, equipment purchases, etc. And Walker will give you a list of the shortfall on how it will and won't impact the budget.
Thank you, Erica. And happy Memorial Day to all of you. The good news, we're going to manage all of the staff increases this year in salary, bringing them up to UUA guidance. Way to go. Bad news, the leadership training development is not going to be funded at the same rate that we had hoped. Some of our preventative maintenance is not going to be funded. Ooh. I know. Say goodbye to the keyless entry system. Say goodbye to the defibrillator. And we aren't going to quite pull our weight. Whoops. We're not going to quite pull our weight with the UUA common donations. So we're not paying as much as UUA would hope that we would. So we're sucking on that a little bit, if you get my picture here. All resulting in a $9,200 shortfall at this time. What I am also very encouraged about is the 105 pledges. Last year, 120. I would encourage you very seriously to think about joining us and being part of that 120. Whatever it is that you can do monthly to align your financial resources with the Harbor of Hope and the Beacon of Justice. Thank you so very much.
I ring our bells 7 times in honor of our Unitarian Universalist 7 principles. Our congregational covenant says that we commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for good in the world.
It means clown, and I think Rachmaninoff was thought about the great opera Pagliacci in writing this piece.
What a treat. Our opening words this morning come from a colleague and friend of mine, Mark Bellatini. He writes, "The difficulties of the week take their Sabbath now. Let the difficulties of the week take their Sabbath now. Their brief and simple rest. Let the worries of the week lay their heft gently upon the dark earth, which can bear them with greater ease than any one of us can by ourselves. Let the tangle of feelings, the pull and push of these last 7 days sit still for a moment. Stop writhing in my heart and move no more than a Buddha at rest under a tree." Our chalice lighting words will also come from Mark Bellatini, a fairly renowned UU Buddhist. To be present to the life of this place and to the deep that calls unto deep, it matters only that we know there is no place to flee from what presents itself to us here.
Good morning. Good morning. I'll say it again now that everybody can hear me. I'm Jessie. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at UUCR. And I'd like to invite up Bonnie and any children that we have or children at heart if you'd like to help out this morning. Today we are going to set a memorial table specifically for the people that we remember on Memorial Day, all the people who have fallen or gone missing during wars. This is considered a fallen soldiers table, fallen comrades table, or a missing persons table. So we're going to set that table. And the first thing that we have here is a round table. And the shape of a circle is everlasting. It has no beginning, no end. So it stands for our everlasting concern for those who have perished in battle or who have gone missing. The next part is the white tablecloth with the purity of motive. That's what it stands for. White stands for purity, and it stands for the purity of motive in joining the armed forces. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set this table for one person, and it symbolizes the isolation that people feel when their loved ones pass, but also the isolation that people can feel on the battlefield. So grab the plate. Let's go ahead and set the table. There's utensils. Here, I'll pick it up. So it's a little easier. Not that yet. Grab the utensils. And we also have a black napkin. Perfect. So the black napkin, if somebody can grab the black napkin. Yeah. That black napkin stands for the emptiness that's left in the hearts of loved ones when their family doesn't return from war. The next thing we have is our centerpiece. Go ahead and grab that vase. Perfect. Thank you, guys. So there's a lot of things going on with this vase. So I'm just going to tell you about them. The single red rose reminds us of the lives of Americans and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith in seeking answers. Sometimes we don't know how or why someone dies. So that's what the rose stands for. We also have a yellow ribbon and a red ribbon. The yellow ribbon stands for our loyalty and love for those who may never return from war. And the red ribbon is our continued determination to account for everyone who's missing. So our next step is that plate. Now is the time for the little plate. If you can. Yeah, keep the lemon on it. So this lemon stands for bitterness and the bitter taste that's left in our mouth from war. So you can go ahead and set that on the table. And you, my friend, get to sprinkle salt on it. And that salt stands for tears shed both in battle and after battle by all involved. Our next thing is our wine glass. Go ahead and put it on the table upside down. Yeah, so this wine glass stands for the toasts that they cannot raise with us. So you know how you raise a wine glass and toast? That's what it stands for. Our last thing is this chalice. So that chalice is the symbol of, who's got it? Yeah, you is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. So a lot of people find solace and comfort in faith and strength in faith. So that's what the chalice stands for. And who would like to light our chalice? Go for it. We have a special candle here that you can use to light it from our chalice over here. Will you hold it for him while he lights it? Thank you. You can walk over there. Running with flame is usually, there we go. You can just put that right here. That goes on the table. And that you can put there. Put it on this table. Yeah. So some people light a candle on these memorial tables. And they have just one candle. Ours is in the chalice, but it also stands for hope. Because with the partner of devastation and the partner of sadness is also hope. So if you will pull up a chair for this missing man, this missing person who has fallen in war, this is their chair for the remainder of the service. Thank you guys for helping me assemble this memorial table. And we also have letters in clipboards in the back and on a table. If anyone would like to join us in writing letters to veterans, they're going to be delivered to folks who are at the VA in Salem. Thank you, guys.
My goodness. My goodness. What a week this has been. Yeah, what a week. During the week, when people generally begin to focus on a long holiday weekend, parades, and the beginning of summer, we've been tremendously distracted. Instead of a focus on those whose lives have been lost in war, we mourn those whose lives have been lost in an elementary school. And it's rightfully so that we should mourn them. Thank you. These are children killed by military-grade weapons, wielded by not much more than a child. It's been a hell of a week. Following the week before with calamity in Buffalo. Perhaps our elected governmental representatives will devise a standalone day of mourning for those killed in mass shootings in schools, grocery stores, neighborhoods in which people live. Just maybe. But until then, I guess we will have to simply learn to walk and chew gum at the same time and vote and vote and vote like your lives and other lives depend on it. Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend. What comes to mind? What plans, what memories do you have associated with this holiday? With the holiday weekend? Did your family tend to go away for the weekend? Have picnics or barbecue in the backyard? Was getting to the local Memorial Day parade high on your list? Yeah? Anybody? Y'all go to Memorial Day parades and this sort of thing? Perhaps the Memorial Day and Memorial Day weekend were just another weekend for you and or your family. I don't know that I knew about Memorial Day parades when I was growing up. Maybe they didn't have them in my city where I grew up. But as I look back and think about it, logic suggests otherwise, for I grew up in a city next to the capital of New York State. So logic tells me there are probably Memorial Day parades that I just didn't know about. I do remember once or twice hearing my father, when I was a young fellow, say that there was no way he was going to go serve in the military, that he was going to fight in a war. And even at a young age, he didn't have to explain to me why. I don't know how he managed to avoid it, but he did. By my teenage years, I had very little in the way of what I understand or understood to be patriotism. Little respect for our governmental system, which I felt alienated from. By the time I became 18, the draft was operated on some form of a numeric system. Each year, numbers associated with birth dates were pulled, and you were drafted when they got to your number. High numbers went first. Any of you folks here exposed to the lottery? Any of you have the fortune of having your number called and get invited to go put on greens? Mine was a reasonably high number, and I knew I was at risk. I also knew I wasn't willing to fight in Vietnam. I just wasn't going to do it. And it was obvious to me that the only reasonable way to avoid that was to head to Canada, as I knew others had. So I began contemplating how. What were the implications? What were the risks? All along trying to manage my fear of getting caught doing so and maybe not being allowed back into my country of birth. And at the time, I really didn't know very much about Canada. So I was just plain lucky. They stopped calling men just 2 digits higher than my number in the magic year for me. Now and then, I wondered what my life would have been like had it been otherwise. I deem myself fortunate. I believe the first Memorial Day parade I ever went to was when my son was in high school in the band. He was first chair trumpet and played solo taps at the presentation of flags at the Memorial Day parade in my town at that time. He did it 3 years in a row. I was a proud and impressed papa. My daughter also played in that band. So I went to Memorial Day parades during that stage of my life. Veterans marched. Some rode in cars, jeeps, trucks. Others were pulled in horse-drawn wagons. All those folks were well festooned. I understood Memorial Day to be a celebration of those who fought in war, or at least were members of the military. It was an honoring of those who risked their lives in service of this country. The parades were festive events. Balloons, clowns, jugglers, peoples on stilts, cotton candy, children with painted faces, all with little mention of war, death, and the why of war. There was much pride emanating about winning, and there was thanks to those who returned and to those who did not. I don't think I've been to a Memorial Day parade since those years. I don't think of myself as particularly patriotic, although I fully define myself as an American. I still chafe at much of our country's history, our governmental and nationalistic militarism. I'm still keenly aware of our country's underbelly. But I'm no historian by any stretch of the imagination. So in preparing for the Sunday service and Memorial Day, I did what is my pattern. I went in search of information on the subject matter. What's the through line? What data do I need to know? What's essential? How do others frame the subject? And what shall I have as my take-home message? This week was like no other that I can remember. In addition to all the emotional reactions I had to the southern part of our country this week, I was truly surprised at what I found in my digging. I discovered what I simply didn't know. Now I'm going to stop and ask for a personal request that those of you who are historians and know what I'm about to tell you that I discovered, please no snickering. I've always understood Memorial Day as a celebration of fairly recent invention, focused on World War I, battles and wars since that time, matters of fairly recent history, fairly recent events. So I was surprised to discover otherwise. I want to share a synopsis of a story that surprised and informed me as I did reading this week. After the American Civil War, the single bloodiest military conflict in American history, by the way. The United States was faced with burying and honoring 600 to 800,000 Union and Confederate soldiers. 600 to 800,000. The first national commemoration of Memorial Day was held in Arlington National Cemetery on May 30th of 1868, where both Union and Confederate soldiers are buried. Several towns and cities across the country claim earlier version of Memorial Day or Decoration Day, some as early as 1866. Decorating graves remains, as you well know, the central activity on Memorial Day. In 1996, David Blight, who was a professor of American history at Yale University, was researching a book on the Civil War. The curator at Harvard's Houghton Library offered to allow him to look through some boxes of unsorted material from Union veterans stored there. They were labeled First Decoration Day. And inside, on a piece of cardboard, was a handwritten narrative by an old veteran with a date referencing an article in the New York Tribune. Told of a march at the Washington Race Course and Jockey Club in Charleston, South Carolina, 1865. In the late stages of the war, the Confederate Army transformed the country club into a makeshift prison for Union captives. More than 260 Union soldiers died there from disease, exposure, and no doubt other means. Their bodies were hastily buried in mass grave beyond the grandstands. So when Charleston fell and Confederate troops evacuated the badly damaged city, those freed from enslavement remained. So according to the story, one of the first things those emancipated men and women did was to give the fallen Union prisoners a proper burial. They exhumed the mass grave and reinterred the bodies in a new cemetery with a tall, whitewashed fence that had the inscription, Martyrs of the Race Course. According to two reports in the New York Tribune, Charleston Courier, on May 1, 1865, a crowd of 10,000 people, mostly freed slaves with some white missionaries, staged a parade around the racetrack. 3,000 black school children carried bouquets of flowers and sang John Brown's Body. Members of the 54th Massachusetts and other black Union regiments performed double-time marches. Black ministers recited verses from the Bible. May 1st, 1865. If accurate, the 1865 gathering at the Charlestown racetrack would be the earliest Memorial Day commemoration on record. The newspaper reports were clear. that a Memorial Day observance was organized by freed slaves in Charleston, at least a year before the first U.S. cities had their national observance. The only other mentioned light found of the racetrack event was in 1916. It was a correspondence from a woman's Civil War Historic Society in New Orleans. It was written to a sister chapter in Charleston, asking about a big parade of freed slaves on a horse track at the end of the war. I regret that I was unable to gather any official information in answer to this, was a note sent back regarding the Charleston Society. Once the war was over and Charleston was rebuilt in the 1880s, the city's white residents apparently had little interest in remembering an event held by former enslaved people to celebrate Union dead. That didn't fit their version of what the war was all about, according to this author named Blight. Now, a view from the balcony in 2022, this year, provides the opportunity to wonder what else has been left out or left untold in U.S. history about our wars. These days provide rich fodder to ponder just what was, what is the net result of the war between the states. Provides opportunity to ponder. How much was resolved? How much continues to manifest after that war many years ago? To wonder, was there really a winner? What was gained? What can be maintained? Perhaps what's left unresolved? An opportunity to ponder in these days. Amen and Ashe. And may you consider well.
Hey, Jesse will sing God Bless America by Irving Berlin. And I don't know whether you know, Irving Berlin was born in Siberia and escaped the Jewish pogroms, came to this country. He served in World War I in the military. And of course, the rest is history, wonderful things that he wrote.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America,
Thank you. Make this day like no other day this week. Begin this week by feeling the pleasure of knowing you make a difference. Let this church know you make a difference by helping to fund who we are and to fund our unfolding, because we exist, because an offering will gratefully be received. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of who we are. Thank you for helping us become who we will be. Blessings.
So there's a little addition to your order of service. And it is a reading. It's called Hymn for the Hurting, and it is by Amanda Gorman. Everything hurts. Our hearts shadowed and strange, minds made muddled and mute. We carry tragedy, terrifying and true, and yet none of it is new. We knew it as home, as horror, as heritage. Even our children cannot be children, cannot be. Everything hurts. It's a hard time to be alive, and even harder to stay that way. We're burdened to live out these days while at the same time blessed to outlive them. This alarm is how we know we must be altered, that we must differ or die, that we must triumph or try. Thus, while hate cannot be while hate cannot be terminated, it can be transformed into a love that lets us live. May we not just grieve, but give. May we not just ache, but act. May our signed right to bear arms never blind our sight from shared harm. May we choose our children over chaos. May another innocent never be lost. Maybe everything hurts. Our hearts shadowed and strange. But only when everything hurts may everything change. Let us take a moment of silence. Thank you.
One moment, please. Good morning. Half a Smith is better than none. I'm not Michael Smith. I'm Terry Smith. Substituting. Michael is under the weather today, so we'll want to keep him in our thoughts and his quick recovery. You know, one of the things that we do as a committee is to collect the joys and concerns and the current events of the lives of our members. If you would like to tell us about a concern or a special milestone that you want shared with the community, please call or email the church office by noon on Friday or you can call or email Sally Garber or another member of the Caring Committee. You can also write it in the Lifelines book, which you will find on the altar before and after services. And at this time, let us enter into a time of reverence, into the space of love and hope. We bring the joyful news that Linda and Tom Wood welcome their new grandson, Orson Christopher Wood, who was born on May 19th. Ori is the third child for Rob and Posey Wood. And Linda points out that this is the sixth grandchild, so she now is officially a hexagram. Also noted today, a joy. We planted 50+ baby marigolds in the wildflower garden on Tuesday. Thank you to Mary, Chris, and Nancy for your for making it happen. And thank you all for your generosity campaign gifts. Our marigolds and church will thrive. Check out the garden throughout the summer. Let me mention also the Pebbles of Life, which are available for you to silently recognize your joy or concern. And now Reverend Walter and I will join in lighting candles in honor of all that we hold in our hearts for those here. Beth Carruthers has a sister-in-law who had an accident and broke her hip. And it's a painful condition, as some of you may know, and we wish her well, Beth. Thank you for telling us. May our prayers be heard and our hearts restored. Thank you.
Join me in a time of prayer. Spirit of us all, help us to be gentle with ourselves, gentle with one another, yet firm when the need arises. Help us to live more effectively with the truth of what is, even as we may be pained by that which we see and experience. May we be reminded we can do only that which is ours to do. Keep before us that which tethers us to interconnectedness, the greater good, our higher aspirations. Help us to nurture ourselves along life's journey, knowing that a nurtured self nurtures others as if by osmosis. Help us to remember that we are on a journey with an unknown arrival time. Therefore, we need to keep on keeping on, one step at a time. And may grace accompany our trip. Amen. announcements, but I was ready. Please, I was ready to off into the day. Thank you, a little help from our friends.
I do want to thank Rosalie for the beautiful music this morning, Rosalie. I think we all really needed that this morning. Thank you. Now, I do have a few other announcements. Reminder, there will be an annual meeting, question and answer session in the sanctuary right here immediately after the service. So that's for any questions you may have, the annual meeting, which is next Sunday, isn't it? I'd like to share with you that we are proud to say that we had 5 new members sign our membership book last Sunday. No, on May 15th. Was that last Sunday? No, that was 2 weeks away. Anyway, those 5 folks are Melissa Curry, Greta McVeigh, Cindy Lawler, Paul Womack, and Doris Stepp. These and some other of our newest members will be recognized during a ceremony on June 12th. Stay tuned for that. Now, this is interesting. A friend of the church, Leslie Santa Paul, would like to start a discussion group to explore creative elderhood. Sounds interesting. As we age together in community. Not that any of us are doing that here, are we? See Leslie in the Olin room after the service. Leslie, where are you? The gray hat. That's what it said on my notes, in the gray hat. See her in the Olin room after today's service. Also, there's a live Zoom discussion about aging in community, sponsored by the Foundation for Intentional Community. It's at 2 p.m. Tuesday, the 31st, which would be this Tuesday. And Leslie can give you info and a link on that Zoom discussion. That sounds really interesting. There's one other thing I would like to mention, that after you do the question and answer, the Q&A session after service, if you stay for that, or even if you don't, the Memorial Garden would love to see you this morning. Our Memorial Garden now has a brand new accessibility ramp. You can just kind of walk or slide right down that if you want to. And we have some new plantings, and there will be more new plantings coming on. So the Memorial Garden is coming back to strength, and that's exciting. And I think I've done all mine, and Catherine has something for us too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Hoffman. I'm, among other things, chair of the COVID Safety Task Force. And as you saw on the doors coming in, alas, we've gone back to highly recommending masking while in the church because risk levels are high in the Roanoke Valley of the Omicron variant. So it's really frustrating and exhausting, but that's where we are, and we want to keep everybody safe and have people feel like they can come to church. So thank you very much for observing that. And I also want to say about the annual meeting next week, we're having a short service followed immediately by the annual meeting. So it's not really going to take all your time, and we really encourage you to read your packet and attend. Thank you. And vote, which you can do right now. Thank you. Yeah, and remember, after service today, as Carol announced, we're here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Know that we are all on a journey, riding this turning ball suspended somewhere in the universe. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with one another, because it will make a difference. Go into your week in peace.